I am back. I'm still in the UK, and this is a follow-up video of a similar theme to what I did last time, just explaining you my photographic process. I also want to just tell you, the background of each photograph, just what I was experiencing, the emotions, and why I did what I did, why I took the photograph. So let's begin. This photograph, as you can see, it's in an estate which is being knocked down. It's going to be replaced by another building development, and obviously a lot of these places are disappearing now in China. And although some people still live in these places. There might be one person living in this building here, but occasionally you will see a couple of people walking around, and what these people are, they are looking for little things they can sell. So if we look at this guy, he's got a little hammer and a little bag. And I often go to these places. These places are so interesting because when I go out, I have a certain narrative with my photography. And I think every photographer needs a narrative. Now, all these narratives are inspired by things we saw as children, images, movies. And it is those experiences which create our narrative. So my narrative is sort of like a post-apocalyptic world where, I don't know, maybe there's been a war, could have been between ourselves or between aliens, War of the Worlds. And there are a few remaining people, just living and scavenging and just making a living. Obviously, just to get through the day. So looking for food or artifacts, or maybe this guy, when I saw him, I thought, oh, okay. Maybe he's come back to where he used to live and he's looking for pictures of his loved ones. So I saw this guy, he was walking here. So what I did, I went up to the 4th floor and I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be walking down this path. So again, it's always try to predict where your subject is going. And it was obviously straightforward because he was around here and he's probably going to go all around here. And as well, always be very mindful of the behavior of your subject. What are they doing? So I could see this guy, every so often he would look down and peer down, and it was quite interesting. I was thinking, what's he doing? What's he doing? And then obviously I saw, in his hand, the hammer and the bag. So I waited. I purposely framed the picture. This is, I think it's from the window. It's like a metal, something from the window. So I just wanted to have that in the shot. That's on purpose, just to give it a bit of a frame. And then I patiently waited. Ideally, you want him fairly central, because if he's all the way down here, you're going to lose. He's going to be too small. So I waited, and luckily he looked down. And this all comes into the narrative. It creates a story. And as a photographer, you need to create a story. Gives the viewer something to think about. So I was quite lucky that he did that. But then again, it's all, you create your own luck in photography, because the more you photograph, you're an observer, and you become a very good observer. And you also become very in tune with people and how they act, and you can become almost in a situation where you can predict people's movements. So it just goes to show, obviously when you first start photography, you're learning a skill. It's like developing a muscle. You have to be patient, but in time it will come. So that was that photograph. This photograph here, this shows the importance of getting down low. Now, when I mean low, when I took this photograph, I was lying on my stomach. And this is a bridge, new bridge. On the right-hand side is an old settlement. It's like an old, like a little, not a town, it's just like maybe 10 houses. And it was quite interesting because I was down here, I saw this woman coming up the road. I wanted to position her here because obviously it's telling a story. I didn't want her here. I wanted her here because she's going to be moving into the picture. So obviously all this comes into the picture here. And I thought, okay, I think it's best if she's here. Nearer to the, you know, she's larger as well. You know, if she's down here, you're not going to see her. So this is the beginning of her journey. She's experiencing a journey. Where's she going? No idea. But I think I have no idea what's in there. But anyway, this is quite interesting because when I was photographing it, there was a few houses next door, and I think it was a Muslim area, and they were actually playing the call to prayer, which is very rare in China. And I felt like I was I just felt like I was in some Middle Eastern country. You know, I was like a soldier with my camera, and I was, you know, this was an insurgent or something. And I was basically tracking this woman with my camera, and I felt, yeah, it was quite surreal. So again, you know, obviously if you're low to the ground, you're going to get more of the foreground in. You create a totally different perspective. So don't forget, you know, don't care about getting dirty, whatever, just get down there and really feel the ground and track your subject here, and it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. Another photograph, this little girl is sitting in a moped, but she's in the little footwell. Now obviously I was out, and in China, what they do, they have these they're like little blankets for your mopeds to keep you warm. And I was taking some photographs, and something told me to, just look down there, you know, something down there, something in there. So I sort of looked through the gap, and I saw this little girl, and so cute. And she's got a little heart here, you know, obviously a little kid's tattoo. You know, she was very, very chilled out, you know. I had to be very careful because obviously you have to be careful. You know, you don't want to scare people, especially, you know, the kids. So how you come across, you have to be very, you know, you have to be very reassuring, very calm, because if you come across as all nervous, your subject will pick up on that, and that will show in your pictures. So even though I was literally maybe about 1.5 feet away from her, she still looks very calm, and, you know, she's not threatened or scared or whatever. So another rule is, you know, always look in unexpected places, because sometimes there are real gifts there. This photograph here is, obviously we can see a man. He's got, you know, he's had his leg amputated, and by the looks of me, he doesn't look too old. And I saw him walking up. He was going, you know, quite a pace, you know. And I had to, obviously, if he was here, I didn't even bother taking a photograph when he was here. As photographers, you know, we have to work with light. If I took it here, you wouldn't see him. So I waited for him to go here. I took a photograph when he was in the light here. And I thought, I'll wait for him to go a little bit further so we can just see him. So he's not so small that we can't see him. We can still work out what it is, but we still have to look. And that's the thing in photography as well. Try to get your viewer to just look. You know, if you have very obvious photographs where the viewer doesn't necessarily have to look, it's just given to them on a plate. Obviously, at first glance, it might be just some guy on with some crutches, and then you might just walk past. But if you take the time and you look closely enough, all right, okay. And this obviously brings a whole new narrative to the story, because it's obviously very sad what happened to this guy, and, you know, maybe he's coming home for the first time. You know, we don't know. But again, it's all the narrative. You know, obviously my narrative is there's been a massive war, and maybe the young people went off to fight, and now he's coming back. So that's what really, you know, when I see something like this, something within me, I have to get that photograph, and it vibes with me. Now, it might not vibe with you. You might, you know, some other people might not feel inclined to take this photograph. And why is that? It's because of their experiences as, you know, as a child, what they've seen. maybe they like taking photographs of landscapes, or they like take photographs of, I don't know, buildings, you know. So everyone is different. So that's why I took that one. This photograph I took in my last year of China. I went out with the flash, the little Fuji flash, which I've heard is no longer in production. It's quite a basic flash. I normally put it on auto. I'm not a very technical person. I don't do, you know, all this light meter reading and everything and shooting in manual. I shoot in aperture priority mode because for me that works for me. Some people shoot in manual. If that works for you, then go for it. So anyway, so this guy, we're at the river, and there's a lot of people at the river, and all these guys are jumping off this. It's like a platform, and because the river is swollen, there had been a lot of rain, and the river was really high, so they were all jumping off. So I saw this guy. Obviously, you know, your subject is important. So what we've got here is, you know, he's a healthy guy. The photograph would have been very different if maybe his physique was different. So first off, we've got the water, and you see water. Obviously, that works really well with flash. You know, the flash just captures all those water droplets, and obviously the physique as well. You know, you got the physique. You know, if he was maybe a little bit chubby, it wouldn't have worked so much. You just need the detail, so it's contrast. You know, you've got the contrast in his body. You could see the different muscle shapes and everything. And so yeah, went up behind him. He had absolutely no idea. Fired off the camera, flash went, done. So yeah, so experiment with flash. I only started experimenting with flash quite late on, and it has its merits. I mean, some people love it. I quite like it, but I'm a natural light guy. But then again, you know, don't limit yourself. Just try everything. And sometimes, you know, I'm happy with this photograph. So in this, if I didn't have a flash on that night, I had to have maybe a high ISO and open the lens wide up. It would have been totally different. None of that. I wouldn't have got any of this detail. The picture would have been really, you know, dirty. You know, the high ISO would have just got rid of a lot of the details. So yeah, get the flash out. And obviously here, I'm not going to be, you know, this is not a very confrontational picture because he's thinking about jumping. So he's not thinking about anything else. And that's the perfect moment, you know, when your subject is in deep contemplation or they're going to do something, they're not even aware of you. You know, he's in his own mind and he's just focused on the water, the experience. So use those opportunities to your advantage. Final picture. This picture means it's very personal to me because I was out with my girlfriend and we saw this guy, a young boy, and when he came up to us, I think he had, I'm not sure, you know, he had like, he seemed very agitated, but very excited when he saw us. And when he saw my girlfriend, he was grabbing her and obviously I think his mental age, I think he was a lot younger than his actual age. So maybe he had an issue with his neurological system, or, you know, maybe some brain damage. But he was just jumping up and grabbing. My girlfriend got quite scared. So again, I was very calming, and when he saw me, I was very calming towards him. You know, if somebody's very agitated towards you, don't react the same way because it just makes the situation worse. You have to remain calm. And I think when he saw me, he was very, very calm, you know. I always, you know, if I'm coming into an area, maybe a small village, and there are maybe 10, 15 people sitting on the side, I always raise my hand. You know, like those cowboy movies? And the Native Americans, how? They always say how. And it's quite funny because how, in Chinese, how means good. Ni hao means literally, if you literally translate it, it means you, good. By raising your hand, it shows you you've got no weapon in your hand. I'll come in peace. So, yeah, this guy, he managed to calm down. I got him to, from being highly agitated to being, okay, stand here. And then now he looks a lot calmer, and he's quite contemplative as well. And obviously this thing for tilling the ground, it's quite old. It's obviously petrol run. And I got him to stand there, and I never thought I could do that. And he stood there, and then I took the picture. So technically, it's not a great picture, but for me, it's the experience. And it will always remind me about that time, So, yeah, it's a very personal photograph. So I'm going to do some more of these videos. I've got some more photographs lined up. Please, obviously, like and subscribe. Make any comments, and I'll get back to you. Yeah, and hopefully very shortly, I'll have a video. And I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.